So it's interesting to actually watch the topology changes of the combination of enterprises standing up applications right next to major cloud infrastructure, but also how that gets connected back to campus environments. And so this conversation is far more about just than what's inside the data center itself. It really becomes a global topology that you're referencing, particularly as you're bringing in certain layers of applications. And again, if you look at a global deployment, that's where you start to see some interesting complexities in terms of time shift of usage patterns. You had mentioned Superstorm Sandy as in a specific event that's driven some demand for you. The same thing basically is happening on a global basis with specific events around the world. And so, whether you're an enterprise delivering it to users that are coming online at a certain time of day, or if it's actually more event driven, I think you've got a lot of different people in the ecosystem that are trying to figure out better ways of handing stuff off down the pipe rather than just continuing to scale, because that ultimately leads to more inefficiencies. So it ultimately becomes an efficiency conversation.
Ultimately, there are a limited number of dollars and there are a limited number of people and frankly, a limited amount of expertise that everybody has. And some companies obviously have more than others. But it does come down ultimately to efficiency. How can I get the best return on my investment? But I still want to balance, and again, different customers have different requirements. How can I balance my own personal or my company's business needs? And that, I think, is, again, that goes back to these big events, the Superstorm Sandy, Fukushima, earthquake and tsunami in Japan. There's been a lot of flooding now over in Europe this summer. I was just there and ran into a bunch of customers who are now, they thought these were just phenomena that took place elsewhere. And now all of a sudden they're beginning to say, oh, well, I just lost my own data center in my offices for 3 weeks while the river overflowed. We've got to start rethinking the way we deploy really the way we build our enterprise infrastructure. And so I think what Equinix provides, along with technology partners like Vello, is the ability to very reliably, with a good degree of confidence, provide the sort of extended virtual concept data center that really turns you really into an extension of that enterprise. And I think that when customers begin to think about it, their assets with Equinix is really just an extension of what they've got on their own, and we make it easy for them to realize that is going to make the adoption, I think, also much, much easier. And so that's really been our primary goal.
Absolutely. You're helping the enterprise and IT groups make a better transition into what has traditionally been a very telco-oriented world.
Absolutely, yes.
Which can look very arcane if you don't come from that world. And so, the Vello solution really adds that intelligence layer that makes it much easier to engage in what historically has been a very internet culture-oriented type of deployment.
Right.
We're talking about ISPs and peering people who grew up building the internet, who have an intrinsic understanding of what it takes to put capacity up between data centers. This is something that enterprises really haven't had to deal with much, up to a certain size, of course. I mean, very large, Fortune 100, 500 companies have great experience in this. But what's happening is this solution is actually opening this up into additional tier type of enterprises who can leverage what has essentially been high availability commercial infrastructure that's kind of been off limits to them due to certain technical limitations. And I think the solution bridges that gap, and it brings them into that intelligent routing layer that gives them the ability to provision quickly and on the fly, and it makes it easier for them to engage in a multi-tenant data center, to approach that marketplace of different services that they can acquire there.